Hey everybody, welcome back to AWS What's Next. I'm your host Shashank, and if you're just tuning in, What's Next is your opportunity to learn more about some of the launches we've had here at reInvent. In this live stream specifically, we'll be focusing on machine learning for industrial use cases and particularly AWS Panorama service. And to tell you all about AWS Panorama, I have here with me my guest, Jason. Jason, would you like to go ahead and quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Shashank, great to be here. I'm one of the product leads for AWS Panorama.
Awesome. Welcome, Jason. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
As I was watching the keynote today morning, Swami's keynote, and for you viewers, if you missed the keynote today morning, be sure to catch the rebroadcast later today to learn all about the AI/ML launches at reInvent. So as I was watching this keynote, I was amazed by all the industrial focused machine learning capabilities we had today. I'm looking at the list. We had Amazon Monitron, Amazon Lookout for Equipment, AWS Panorama, which we'll talk about here today, Amazon Lookout for Vision. This is an amazing suite of solutions for industrial use cases. Specifically, as we'll be talking about AWS Panorama, uh, uh, could you tell us a little bit more about why machine learning today? Why is it so important for industrial use cases? What were some of these pressing challenges that customers were facing that was important for us to go and create these solutions, and specifically AWS Panorama?
Yeah, absolutely. In the manufacturing and the industrial space, I think, one of the biggest challenges there is doing visual inspections of products. And in many cases, these are products in high-speed manufacturing that are on, fast-moving conveyor belts. They need to be inspected within milliseconds. So the inference needs to be run very
Mm,
quickly in order for them to maintain their quality. Many of these use cases, edge machine learning, and in the case of Panorama, edge computer vision,
mm,
just turned into something that was a requirement, but also a really big sort of untapped market for computer vision, and has been something that where we've gotten a lot of traction. I would say that in general in industrial, there's also just a lot of interest in terms of being able to track the movement
mm.
of goods and products as they move around a plant or they move around an
Mm.
industrial site.
So, especially for these use cases where you have cameras on site, you don't want to be calling endpoints in the cloud and adding this extra bit of latency. You want these computer vision and machine learning algorithms to run locally. So, AWS Panorama is a good solution here for latency, as you described. So, let's talk about the product a little more.
Sure.
So describe to our viewers, what is AWS Panorama and how does it address some of these challenges you just shared?
Yeah, absolutely. We with AWS Panorama, we basically have a sort of an end-to-end integrated service that allows you to import a computer vision model, pair it with business logic, deploy
Mm,
it down onto an edge device, and then discover IP cameras that you're already using. I think one of the things we learned when we went out and talked to customers is at first we thought maybe we should build an industrial camera, but
mm,
their customers have cameras. What they really need to do
right.
is add computer vision to those cameras, and then be able to run those applications out the edge, and then get the results of those applications back, whether that's locally in a line of business application or up
Mm,
to an AWS console like CloudWatch, or in a data file like S3.
mm. So not just your machine learning inference, but your entire business logic and everything else you need in order to achieve your computer vision goals there. You just deploy this to the AWS Panorama device and it all runs locally. So you have this low latency, high performant output. That sounds like a great value add. to your machine learning to your industrial sort of setup. So so that's the product. How can a customer start using this solution today? What are the steps that they may need to take in order to deploy their model and their business logic to this device? What does the workflow look like for a customer who wants to use this solution?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, I think it all really starts with a model. So for some customers,
Mhm.
they've got custom models that they've
Mhm.
built using SageMaker based on their own
Right.
ground truth data. In other cases, they're getting pre-built models from
Mhm.
AWS or third parties, um, and um, and then it's really there's usually a fairly iterative process. I think one of the keys for successful computer vision models at the edge is that you want to be training with the cameras and the video
Mm.
feeds that you're going to be running in production,
Right.
and you want to be prototyping and building these things out. And so the service is available. We are in preview,
Mhm.
and we have the Panorama Appliance development kit,
Mhm.
which is available to developers. We have a somewhat limited supply, but we'll be ramping that up over the next few months.
Mhm.
And this is, essentially um, a fairly unlocked kit, so you can
Mhm.
SSH into the device. It's something that's definitely used and designed for companies that are either ISVs and they want to be moving solutions that they already have, or building new solutions from scratch onto an edge device. And they're going to use Panorama for that, or companies
Mhm.
that have that today.
So I want to come back to the availability and next steps. But first, you mentioned customers can use their own existing IP cameras, and it makes sense for them to train their own models because, as you mentioned, some of the models may be sensitive to what a camera was used to capture the images and so on and so forth. So, how does that work with the AWS Panorama devices? What kind of
Mhm.
support does it have for cameras? How many cameras can it support? Any information there
Sure. Yeah.
that you want to share? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the on the appliance,
Hmm.
we have a protocol for discovering IP cameras, and it's called the OMVIF-S protocol,
Hmm.
and that will discover that basically works with almost all IP cameras on the market today, and it will automatically go out and look for those cameras. And if those cameras have passwords, you can give them access. Um, and it can support up to 20 video streams at once. Um, and you can run multiple models on multiple different streams. So, you might have one camera stream where you're monitoring quality
Hmm.
on a manufacturing line. You might have another where you're monitoring inventory, or moving of pallets around a warehouse. Um, so the the idea is we've built a really powerful edge appliance that
Hmm.
will really grow with our customers as they sort of move from their most pressing computer vision use case into others that come along as they start to become more proficient with these over time.
This is a very powerful edge device that you mentioned can run multiple models, run your business logic along with your machine learning inference. Some of our viewers may be wondering, what are all the different application areas? I can certainly see applications in manufacturing, perhaps in retail warehouses, maybe variety of other industries as well. So what has been your primary customer use case? What are all the industries that can get benefit from AWS Panorama Appliance that is part of
Yeah,
your growth?
we started in manufacturing
Mhm.
and industrial, so a lot of the quality assurance and inspection use
Mm.
cases there. But I think that in worker safety is also something that customers are looking to implement. So if you've got workers who are working near moving equipment like forklifts or robotic machinery, and you want to keep people and machines apart,
Mm,
computer vision at the edge is a great way to do that. And we've partnered with Big Mate, which is one of the ISVs that's developing for our platform. Um, we can also do things like make sure that people are wearing hard hats in hazardous
mm,
areas. Um, and then, outside of manufacturing and industrial, there's demand in retail to understand how many people you have, sort of what your foot traffic
mm.
is at a certain store, what products people are interacting with, and and how you might be able to adjust your layout and operations to drive better revenue and remove bottlenecks. And generally speaking, I would say that we're also just being used in a lot of public safety use cases
Mm.
where companies or organizations, and really anyone who has a facility, wants to monitor the density and the number of people in a facility. And computer vision is an easy way to automatically do that.
So basically, if you have any business problem where you have a camera or a bunch of cameras and you want to detect something, classify something at the edge, then you could use the Panorama device and your own IP camera to solve that problem. That's very powerful because there are so many other industries that could benefit from this solution. And coupled with the fact that you can use Amazon SageMaker to train your own models and deploy. I
Absolutely.
think that's a um, powerful story there because uh, a customer doesn't have to figure out how to manage the edge device and push their models. So. So that's part of the developer journey. But you also mentioned there's an SDK, the AWS Panorama SDK. Tell us
Absolutely.
a bit more about the SDK and so we have you mentioned partners, hardware partners, ISV partners. Tell us the role of SDK in this solution and how our partners will use the SDK to enable solutions on this device.
Yeah, the Panorama Appliance is really just the first of many Panorama devices that will be out
Mm,
there. And I think from our perspective, we wanted to make it easy to bring computer vision to the edge. But we're not focused on building all of the hardware ourselves.
mhm,
And so we've got sort of two groups of partners. The first group of partners are we've partnered with Umbrella and NVIDIA,
mhm,
which are two of the leading silicon providers.
mhm,
And we've designed our SDK to run efficiently using their native ML and CV
mhm,
acceleration, both hardware and software. And then we've gone out and we've partnered with device manufacturers who use those chips to build new AI-enabled cameras and
mm.
other varieties of the appliance. So bigger, smaller, different price points, more ruggedized, and are really seeding an ecosystem there of different partners who can provide these devices because that's where we see the market going over the long term, and we want to be enabling those different partners.
So customers have different needs. Some of them may need the appliance next to their camera. Some may want to rack mount it on a centralized location. So with these partners, you can get different solutions depending on what kind of deployments you want in your manufacturing or retail or warehouse or any other location, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they're already working and already purchasing from these hardware manufacturers. So, Bosler and Axis and
Mm,
Vivotech on the camera side, Lenovo and IDILink in terms of um, gateways and appliances. These are names that customers already know and trust,
mm.
and we're just partnering with them to help connect them to the cloud and make it easy for that end-to-end cloud to edge, edge to cloud workflow for computer vision a reality.
Awesome. Uh, let's talk about uh, when and how can our customers get started with it? So you mentioned this is in preview
Yes.
and they can apply for a developer kit.
That's right. Yeah. So I would say that there are two parts to Panorama that are really tangible from a developer perspective. One is the console, and anyone can now access the
Mm,
console today. So if you wanted to, import a model
mm,
and use like AWS Lambda or other familiar tools to
mm.
do your business logic, you could get started with that today. We've got a limited quantity of the Panorama
Dev
Appliance
kit. Mm.
developer kits that will be available, and so you can go to our website and sign up for that, and then we'll just be shipping those as we have more inventory over the course of the coming months.
So the developer kit is primarily a playground where a customer can,
Yes,
test. Then you mentioned you could SSH into it, and you can run your model, see what the
right.
performance looks like, and general availability. It'll be more of a full-fledged appliance that's fully managed through the cloud, whereas the dev kit will help them test it in their environment to make
That's
sure
right.
it's
Yeah.
working as intended.
Yeah, and it's important to know that it's really the same hardware. The
Mm,
software
mm,
is a bit different because the things and some of the access that developers need
mhm,
to troubleshoot and do logging and things like that with the developer kit are different than what you would use if you wanted to have a highly secure device that was
mhm.
running a production grade workflow, in a factory or in a store. We expect that for most customers, they'll do development and testing using the Panorama Appliance Dev Kit.
Mm.
And then when they go to production deployment and pilots, they will use the GA Panorama Appliance.
Awesome. So I'm excited to see what this looks like. We've spoken about this a bit now. I know you have a few images, slides, and also a demo. So let's take a look at it. Let's show our viewers what the device looks like and how it works. So Jason, whenever you're ready.
Go ahead. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen.
Awesome.
So we talked through a little bit of this already. Um, so the three main groups of customers that I would say that really need computer vision at their edge, or low customers who have need for really low latency
Mm,
processes, where they're a round trip to the cloud just isn't practical. Um, Other customers, especially on big campuses or in large factories where there's lots of concrete and the size is just huge. They've got bandwidth constraints, or they've
mm,
just got internet coverage constraints. And so what they want to do is they want to have a highly reliable way of running computer vision applications
mm,
at the edge. And so for them, yeah, they don't want to, they actually can't be sending video to the cloud. There's a third group of customers who, really for either regulatory
mm,
or data governance reasons, need to be keeping all their video and images on premises. They store them on premises. They need to be processing them on premises. They actually can't send them to the cloud. Healthcare and public sector are prime examples of this. And
mm,
for them, Panorama is also ideal because they can do all of the processing on premise, and then just send the application results to whatever different application they need to, and remain compliant. Um, as I'd mentioned, there really sort of three pieces. There's the Panorama Appliance, and in the future, more Panorama devices
mhm,
that sit at the edge and connect to IP cameras. There's a cloud console, which is where um, the administrator and the data scientists will go to import their models from
mm,
SageMaker or other sources, combine them with the business logic, deploy those models down onto the Panorama appliance, and then associate different computer vision applications with different IP video camera streams that are coming in. And as the application results come out, as a administrator and developer, you can designate which integration points you want, or which we call them data sinks you
Mhm.
want, so that the application results make it to a place where they're really actionable and viewable in real time. So this
So
is just
from
sort of,
a developer experience standpoint, it's a fully managed device in the
yes,
production setting. They just use the console in order to push models and don't have to actually physically have access to the device, right?
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Once you connect your device to your network, it can connect to the console, and there's certainly, some customers where their access to the cloud might be intermittent.
Mm,
So, the device is maybe offline over periods of time. But for most of our customers, they've got some kind of connectivity.
mhm,
And so the devices can be managed, and models can be updated, applications can be improved over time. You can add
mm,
different use cases. And then, I've sort of talked through a lot of this already, but on the right hand of the slide, is really sort of where the rubber meets the road, in the sense that having those data sinks available,
mm,
whether they're AWS data sinks, like Kinesis video streams,
mhm,
or S3, or CloudWatch. We see a lot of customers using those. But you can also use other data sinks like MQTT, and use other methods
mhm.
to integrate into other line of business applications like ERP and CRM applications. I think we talked about some of these industries already, so I'll just skip over that. But I'll spend a little bit
This
more
is
time
this is
on
what the device looks like.
yeah, this is what the device looks like. Yeah, so it's like it's a half U, which means you can
Mm,
rack mount it. Yeah, you can use rack mounting hardware, and have two side by side in a rack. It's very easy to set up. So really, you just plug in the Ethernet, provision the device. It automatically detects your IP cameras. You can
mm,
run your models. The device itself, I should say, is a ruggedized device.
mm,
It's got an IP62 rating. And IP stands for ingress protection, and um, uh,
mm.
the six means that it's completely dust proof, and the two
Nice.
means that it's water resistant. So this is something that could sit out on a dusty plant floor, or be in a warehouse where there's
Mm,
moisture, or even some water dripping on top of it, and it would be fine. Um, and we've built it on the top of the line Xavier embedded GPU, the Xavier AGX. And this is a really powerful GPU that allows you to process multiple video streams at once with multiple complex models.
Oh, that's a powerful platform in there. I think it has hardware encoding and decoding engines, and it's a very powerful GPU. So yeah, you can. It seems like it can handle many cameras, as you mentioned. That's a pretty powerful device you have there.
Yeah, well, I think that it's one of the more capable GPUs in the market
Hmm.
today. That still hits a price point that's pretty accessible, even if you've got a smaller deployment of cameras.
So
Um,
Jason, I know you have a demo. I want to see the demo. So
sure.
if you want, let's jump into the demo and take a look at how the workflow looks like for some of our viewers who are itching to see what the console looks like and how the flow looks like.
Okay. Uh,
There it is.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so Fu, one of my colleagues, will be doing the
AWS
demo.
Panorama is a new machine learning service which gives you the ability to make real-time decisions to improve your operations by giving you compute power at the edge. In this demo, I'll guide you through setting up a Panorama appliance, connecting the appliance to IP cameras on your network, and deploying your first application. I will be using the Panorama Appliance Developer Kit for this demo. The Developer Kit is not meant for production use, as it allows root access for developers to rapidly build and test CV applications. Inside the Panorama console, choose Get Started and choose Set Up Appliance. First, give your appliance a name. Optionally, you can add description and tags to make managing multiple appliances easier. Second, configure the network settings to connect your appliance to the AWS cloud. We recommend Ethernet for the initial setup. You can configure static IP and DNS settings in advanced network settings. Since this is an appliance developer kit, you can configure SSH access right in the console.
For debugging reasons.
Absolutely.
Follow the instructions on screen to download the configuration file and transfer it to the appliance using the provided USB flash drive. Your appliance will take a couple of minutes to finish booting and connect to the AWS cloud. After your appliance comes online, connect to the IP cameras you want to use with Panorama. The appliance can automatically discover IP cameras that comply to the ONVIF Type S protocol on the same subnet. Alternatively,
Convenient.
you
You
can
don't have to add them manually. Right.
SP camera streams on the
Exactly.
subnet for the appliance to connect to. After the appliance has found your camera, you can add camera credentials to access the video streams. Your appliance is now ready for use. Let's deploy your first Panorama application. A Panorama application uses an ML model to make a prediction about what is in the video, such as detecting people, identifying objects, or determining the position of items in the video. The ML model is paired with business logic code that is customizable to take some action based on the ML prediction. The code can connect to the cloud and trigger an alert, write data to a database, or integrate with business systems on your network. The ML model and code for this demo is available at the Panorama Samplers GitHub repo. First, give your application a name. Then, let's add the ML model, which you will use to generate predictions from the IP camera streams. If you train your model using SageMaker, you can import your models using the SageMaker training job ID.
Oh, wow, that's convenient. So you just train and provide the ID and it can pull it from there.
Exactly.
To use a custom model with Panorama, specify the model location, name, and data input parameters. The data input helps the ML compiler optimize the model to run on the Panorama appliance. Panorama can even support multiple models within one application. Now that you've imported your ML model, let's work on your business logic code. In this example, you will use the AWS Lambda console to create the business logic code to count up the number of people in the frame and display it on the HDMI output. For production use cases, you can integrate the ML model's results with systems on your local network or in the cloud. After you finish editing the code, publish a version from the Lambda console and return to Panorama to import the code for use in your application. You've just created your first ML application with AWS Panorama. Now let's deploy the application to your Panorama appliance.
First, so the Lambda gets combined with the model and gets deployed together, right?
That's right. They're both optimized using Neo under the covers.
Panorama applications process multiple camera streams in parallel. Finally, select Deploy. For debugging purposes, you can view the video output on an HDMI monitor connected to the appliance.
Awesome. So there you have it, folks. That was AWS Panorama. It's an appliance. There's also an SDK for partners, and you can apply for the dev kit on the product page. It's in preview. You also got a peek at the console experience and how easy it is to use, authoring your business logic as well as using your models from SageMaker and deploying. So thank you, Jason, for joining us, telling us all about AWS Panorama. Thanks for being here. And with that, thanks again for attending. See you in the next stream.